Welcome back to Celts Are Here. My name's Josh McCafferty, and today we're going to be talking about a man who's on his way to Celtic as we speak, as this video has been recorded. Arne Engels is signing for the Scottish champions from FC Augsburg in Germany for a club record fee of €13 million. That translates to around £11 million. He's coming in as the Matt O'Reilly replacement. And to talk about Arne Engels, I'm in esteemed company. I'm delighted to be joined by German football consultant and youth football scout Adam Can. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm good, Josh. It's good to be here. Have enjoyed Arne Engels a lot in the Bundesliga, so maybe a little bit disappointing for me to lose him to the Scottish Premier League, which is not so readily available in Germany. But I think you'll have a lot of fun with him. So yeah, you're in good hands.
Amazing, thank you very much. So Arne, on his way to Celtic at the minute, can you just give us a quick rundown of what we can expect at Celtic from his play style and how he plays?
Yeah, I think you almost see it almost in the first view of him. I mean, he looks quite boyish in his physical frame, even kind of his exterior look. So he's a very technical player, very very good on the ball. Also, kind of his tactical understanding. You get the sense that he always has kind of the next 2 or 3 decisions processed in his mind before he receives play. He knows what spaces to occupy. He knows also kind of how to get the ball where he's not immediately been put under physical pressure, but he can kind of find space where he has time to make decisions. Also, very good set piece taker. I'm not sure exactly how it looks for Celtic at the moment in terms of the set piece options, but he's someone who can play very good corners, indirect free kicks. So he has a lot of qualities in there. He's also quite versatile. Specifically, last season when he wasn't necessarily starting matches, he would then come in across a wide range of positions. He'd play as a 10, as almost a left winger sometimes. As a right back also, he's played quite a lot, where I think he also has a long-term future as well. But I would say the best position is in kind of a box-to-box center mid role, where he probably has an advanced 10 ahead of him and a more physical kind of holding midfielder behind. And yeah, overall, a really, really interesting player. Has a lot of qualities to kind of fit into many different formations and tactical constructs. But yeah, I think to sum it up, Engels is primarily at his best with the ball at his feet in kind of a high possession and then fluid attacking outfit.
Very interesting. You watch the Bundesliga and German football regularly. Arne moved to Augsburg in January 2023 for just €100,000 from Club Brugge. How much has he developed since then, playing for Augsburg?
Yeah, I mean it's an insane transfer. I think in footballing terms, it's like kind of the coins you find between the sofa cushions. €100,000. This is like really nothing in football. And I mean, he came to Augsburg. Obviously, you mentioned Club Brugge, right? A huge club, a Champions League regular contender, but he never played a first team minute at Club Brugge. He was always with Club Next in the second tier, which is kind of their U23 outfit. So it wasn't necessarily a transfer you would say was one that was going to immediately kind of hit the ground running, right? It was more of a transfer, you say, for the long term. But I mean, Arne Engels really in a January window came in and played 17 of 18 matches from the start in the starting lineup for Augsburg, right? So we're talking about a top 5 lead going from the second division in Belgium in a U23 outfit to basically playing every minute he's available for at a Bundesliga club, fighting for survival, fighting for kind of their ability to stay in the lead and make a profit. So yeah, that trust in him from the beginning really, really helped his career. But you also need to look at the other way and say, I mean, for Arne Engels, as what was then a teenager, to come into a struggling outfit that were in a relegation battle that didn't necessarily suit technical football, and for him to kind of immediately not just make it into that side, but really become one of the key players is a testament to his quality from a young age, and also the kind of pathway and potential that he has.
You spoke about that versatility he has earlier, and sort of Celtic have lost Matt O'Reilly to Brighton. I'm sure you'll know he scored 19 goals, got 18 assists across all competitions last season. He played in a sort of advanced 10 role, and it looks like Arne Engels is coming in as his replacement. Do you think he's capable of filling that void that's going to be left by O'Reilly?
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be the ideal position for me for Engels.
Mm.
I think that it's easy to kind of look at him in an advanced role because, like I said, he is physically diminutive, right?
Mm.
So, kind of to alleviate that strain, you would maybe say, okay, we'll put him in a more attacking role. But I do
Mm.
like him more as kind of that binding element between defense and attack. almost a little bit like a younger Pascal Gross, like we
Right.
saw from Gross in his very first years at Brighton, where he
Mhm.
kind of could be everything at once. He could be kind of a deep line playmaker. He could be a box to box worker. He could be a creative 10. That's where I see Arne Engels at his best.
Mhm.
But I mean, obviously, Matt O'Reilly's goal scoring output is going to be hard to replicate from any
Yeah.
player, let
Mhm.
alone a midfielder. But I mean, Engels showed, especially last season, that he has the ability to come up with some important contributions going forward. He had 3 goals and 3 assists. And
Mhm.
especially what's interesting is that a lot of those came when he was coming off the bench, impacting
Mhm.
games late on, using the most of limited minutes. I think 4 of those 6 contributions were as a substitute. So yeah, that's an interesting development to see in Engels' game. Like I said, I don't necessarily think that he'll be that key of a raw assist and goal output player, but I think that he can at least hold his weight in a midfield role.
I believe Arne was in the provisional squad for Belgium for the European Championships over the summer. Do you expect him to become a regular for his country in a couple of years' time?
Yeah, I think that the move to Celtic is also probably, from his point of view, also the intention to become a more important player in Belgium. I mean, obviously, the prospects of European football is something you just will never receive in Outsport.
Mhm.
And a move within the Bundesliga would have seen him kind of go to a club like I would say an Eintracht Frankfurt, like a Borussia Dortmund, where he would then not necessarily get the first team minutes that he still needs for his young years. So I think in that respect, Celtic is probably a perfect move where it pairs really kind of pinnacle football, at least in the European sense, with kind of regular first team opportunities. So I think that that's something that really helps him with Belgium.
Mhm.
I think under Domenico Tedesco at Belgium, who's kind of another manager who has spent a lot of time in Germany, who also has a clear idea of how to kind of dominate and dictate games in possession, and also with Belgium kind of entering a new era as kind of the very last of the golden generation fades away with De Bruyne, with Lukaku as well. Opportunities will be available in the Belgian national team, but it's not necessarily one where I say in the next 12 months he'll be starting every game,
Mhm.
but I see him kind of in and around the squad more and at least getting that very first cap in some I would say rather meaningless Nations League matches in the coming weeks.
Are you surprised that Celtic were one of the only teams this summer that were concretely linked with Arne Engels, or not so surprised that were not any others?
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised at the fee Celtic were willing to pay because Engels, of course, didn't play as a starter for the last
Mhm.
weeks in Outsport, and even though I mean I'm super convinced of his qualities and stuff, it's still a pretty hefty fee to give out for a player so young and who is I mean, but with all respect to FC Outsport, it's not a club that is necessarily kind of already playing international football where you can kind of show that clear pathway for Engels to move into Celtic and compete at the Champions League. I saw more, to be honest, a club like a a Borussia Dortmund coming in for Engels, but then using him more as a kind of rotational element in the team, using him kind of as a development prospect. So I would say maybe a slightly bigger team than Celtic. I mean, I'm always in a Celtic podcast. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I think
Yeah.
Borussia Dortmund is maybe at least from an on pitch perspective, a bigger team at the moment,
Mhm.
signing Engels, but then, using him more in kind of a squad member role rather than how Celtic are, which I would imagine is, I mean, for the fee that they paid, he is going to come in and play every minute, at least at the beginning, or is expected to do so.
Yeah, 100%. It is a club record. Celtic, the highest ever fee they paid before that was
Yeah.
£9 million for Odsonne Edouard. So going up to £11 million for a 20-year-old Arne Engels has certainly raised a few eyebrows among the Celtic support, and we'll let you off with the Borussia Dortmund thing there. Talking about Borussia Dortmund, Celtic have got them in the Champions League draw along with RB Leipzig. But apart from those ties, it's quite a favourable draw Celtic have got. How do you think Arne can handle that step up in playing in the Champions League regularly?
Yeah, I think that interesting about Engels, of course, I mean, from the Bundesliga, right? It's obviously coming up against top teams regularly, which is also an important thing to mention, especially in the context of Celtic, where those European nights are a big step up from regular league competition. So I think that speaks favorably of Engels. I also like that Engels, despite kind of his technical qualities, how it's clear that he's best in a ball possession outfit, is the fact that, he's been playing at Outsport for the last 2 years, which are this really rigid defensive side, play with a lot of long balls, a lot of passages against the ball. They're one of the least progressive teams in the Bundesliga. So it's basically everything that Arne Engels football isn't, is how Augsburg play. And then you see also how he's kind of had to adapt himself to fit into that team and do it so quickly. So I think that bodes well, specifically in the Champions League, where you also see a very, very different side to Celtic than what they show in the league. I think that I would argue there's no side in the Champions League even who need to adapt their kind of domestic football the most to compete in international play than Celtic. So that'll be an interesting thing for the whole squad to deal with. But I think that Engels is actually positioned quite well to do so.
That's very interesting and certainly bodes well for Celtic. You mentioned Pascal Gross earlier, but before we go, were there any other players, specific players that you could compare Arne Engels to?
Yeah, I think Pascal Gross is a good one. I would also. I was thinking, I thought about it a little bit before, and then Gross was obviously the biggest one, but I was also thinking a little bit along the lines of Frankie de Jong, specifically in the Ajax years when he was a little bit more of kind of this modern holding midfielder, box-to-box role. I think it's always important, Engels is a clear 8 for me, and if you had to pick between a 10 and a 6, he'd be more of a 6 for me, but you always want to pair him with kind of a true physical element. And I don't know, I haven't looked at the Celtic squad or watched enough matches recently to understand that myself, if that's available, if that's profiles there. But that's something that's really, really important, specifically right now, because he just, like I said, I mean, you can Google a picture of him and you'll see exactly what I mean. He's just very, very boyish still in his frame, and that's something that needs to be compensated for.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you very much, Adam, for taking the time out of your Friday morning to discuss Arne Engels, and hopefully can go on and do very well for Celtic and perhaps replace that void left by Matt O'Reilly. Still only 20 years old though, and still a lot of growth to come in his young career. Adam, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. And if you've been watching this on YouTube, wherever you're watching it, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts on this transfer in the comments below. Once again, thank you for watching.